I have all my chicken bones and turkey bones, making a combination turkey chicken stock in there, plus some beans cooking on the stovetop. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you are with Gravy in the Kitchen. So we're going to bring out the canner today and tomorrow. We're going to can our beans. Hopefully today I'm doing a fast soak, which is I have the dry beans in some water with a little bit of salt. I'm going to bring that to a boil, turn it off, and let it sit in that hot water for a minimum of an hour. Then we'll move on to the next step. I'm hoping to get those canned today. Yesterday morning, I put all my chicken and turkey bones in that countertop roaster. Had it roasted for over 24 hours at a 300-degree temperature. Now it's time to get that strained so we can get it in a pot, let it cool off, so we can put it in the refrigerator to remove all the fat solids that will build on the top of that liquid. And tomorrow, I'm planning on putting that in jars and canning that. Are you ready? Let's get this day going. So I've weighed out 2 pounds of each of these beans. Kidney beans, pinto beans, navy beans, and black beans. Yes, I went to the store and bought a bag of black beans. We got a 4-pound bag of black beans. We're gonna do 2 pounds of that. I think it's 3 pints of beans per pound. So I should get about anywhere between 5 and 6 pints out of each pound of these beans. At least I'll have a variety of beans on my shelf for future use. The stock, I just had some vegetable scraps, some chicken bones, some turkey bones from both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Put it in there yesterday, filled it up with water, and just had it roasting all night long. Now we need to get that strained. So this is the beautiful stock that has been cooking for 24 hours. I have my large stock pot in the sink with my pasta strainer plus a sieve to collect the larger bits, and then we'll run that through a cheesecloth or a piece of muslin to get out the fine bits. But family, it smells delicious. I do want to try to get as much liquid as I can from these bones. We do not want to waste anything. So I did the first strain and got all the solids out. And it's about maybe 2/3 full of this 22-quart roaster. But I know it's going to be extremely concentrated because it was a lot of bones versus water. I'm going to put it on 350 degrees, put the lid back on. I want to bring it back to a boil, let it roast for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to turn it off. So I've got the large stock pot in the sink with the pasta strainer and a cheesecloth or a piece of muslin sitting on top, and now we're doing the fine straining. We'll get all the impurities and bits and pieces from our stock. That way we can have a beautiful, clean stock. I'm just going to take our time. Let's see how talented we are. So I took out the large particles out of that stock, and then we strained it in the cheesecloth to get at the fine bits and pieces. So we went ahead and strained all of the chicken turkey stock. This is the solid. I'm waiting for that to cool so I could get that in the trash bag, get in the trash can. And we have this container, just a regular stock pot, filled. I'm letting that come to room temperature before I put it in the refrigerator. And then this one is about 2/3 full. Again, waiting for this to cool off so we can put it in the refrigerator. And then that layer of fat will solidify on the top. We'll be able to scoop that out. We're going to leave it in there overnight, and then tomorrow we'll heat it up and get it into jars. The first batch of beans, I have navy beans in this pot. I have red kidney beans in this pot. They came up to a boil. We boiled them for 2 minutes. We'll let them sit in that hot water for a total of 1 hour. We have 9 minutes left. We'll strain and rinse that water out. Put it back in the pot with some fresh water. Bring it to a boil and let it boil for 30 minutes. This was the quick soak, and now we need to par cook them before we get them in the jars. Once these two are done, we'll do the same process with the pinto beans and the black beans. My canner will hold 16 pint-sized jars. I'm hoping I don't go over 16 because I don't want to do a whole nother canning session for 1 or 2 jars. But we'll see how many jars we get. If it's 16 or less, we'll be able to can it 1 time. If it's more than that, I will divide it between 2 different sessions. I'll bring you back when I'm ready to cook these for 30 minutes. And then once that's done, we'll get started on filling those jars. We'll have to let them sit aside for a minute while we do the same process for the other 2 types of beans. While we're waiting for the red kidney beans and navy beans to finish boiling for that 30 minutes, I want to talk to you for a minute. Now, there are some people out there that do not mind putting dry beans in their jars, filling it up with water, either doing an overnight soak or just put them straight into the canner and cook them that way. That is fine. You can do that. That is your prerogative. But that is not the National Food Preservation recommended way of canning beans. The website is called the National Center for Home Food Preservation. We're following their guidelines on how to can beans the safe way. I'm not saying what other people do is right or wrong, but if you're new to canning, this is the website you need to follow to do it when it's been approved, tested, and safe. Once you get some canning projects under your belt and you want to go off of the rules, that's fine. But don't follow someone that says, oh, you can do it this way. It's not safe and it's not an approved recipe. I'm just going to throw that out there. We're doing it the proper way. You can soak your beans in cold water overnight or 12 to 18 hours and then drain that water out and then cook it the recommended 30 minutes on the stove. Or you could do a quick soak. It's put your dry beans in some water in a pot, bring it to a boil it for 2 minutes, turn it off, let it sit in that hot water for 1 hour, drain, rinse, put those beans back into your pot with some more clean water, bring it to a boil, and boil it for 30 minutes, and then they're ready to pack and go into your canner. This is the National Center of Home Food Preservation approved, tested recipe. That's the one we're following today. And we're canning ours in pints, both wide mouth and regular. That's what I have. That's what we're using. And they need to process for 75 minutes, and they have to be pressure canned. You cannot water bath low acid foods. Low acid foods must be pressure canned. And again, there are some channels out there, there's some websites out there that says you can water bath, but again, it's not an approved recipe. We're following this to the T. We have 14 minutes on the first batch of beans. I'm going to go ahead and get those in jars, and then we'll start the second batch, and we need to do pinto beans and the black beans. Now we are ready to go ahead and start canning our first bean, which is going to be the navy beans. But I want to show you why you don't want to put dry beans in your jars to can them. This is a cooked kidney bean, and this is a dry kidney bean. They swell up both thickness and length, and if you don't have adequate amount of space in your jars to put a dry bean in there, you're going to have some jar breakage. Follow the website. I'll put a link below in the description on that website, but always follow and can your food according to their recommendations. And this is a navy bean. That's a dry bean, that's a cooked bean. Each one of these beans have tripled in size. We do not want to waste food, and we do not want to waste our money on the jars we buy. We put the dry beans in some water, boiled it for 2 minutes, let it sit in that boiling water for 1 hour, drain and rinse the beans, put the beans back in the pot with clean water, brought it to a boil, and cooked it for 30 minutes. Now we are ready to put these in jars. This was 2 pounds of navy beans, and we want to make sure we leave 1 inch head space, which is that bottom rim right there. So I'm going to start off with the beans with a slotted spoon. I'm just filling it up to a 1 inch head space. Now I'm going to add the liquid. If I don't have enough liquid in this pot, I will add water to the rest. It's not a big deal. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. I am actually getting more jars than I thought I would get. The website I was telling you about says 3.5 pounds will give me 9 pints. And I did only 2 pounds. And I'm going to get more than that. I need to write this in my canning journal so the next time I can beans, I know what we got out of how many pounds. Looks like I'm getting 9 pints from 2 pounds. Interesting. Now we need to go ahead and debubble. That would need some water. Just check it for headspace. Now I added salt when I did the initial 2-minute boil, 1 hour soaking in that boiling water, but that was rinsed out. I did not add salt when I cooked them for 30 minutes. So I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt in each jar. We're going to go ahead and wipe the rim. I have a bowl of white distilled vinegar. Just make sure we don't have any salt or any debris on the rim that prevents it from making a good seal. Some brand new clean 4-jar lids going on. Put a ring on, fingertip tight. Do not crank down on that. It will cause siphoning where liquid will come out and you will not get a good seal. I am not ready to can these because I want to can them all at the same time. So we're just going to set these aside, do the kidney beans, and then we'll go through the process of boiling the pinto beans and the black beans. Looks like I'm going to get 7 pints out of the kidney beans. I find that very interesting that the small bean, I actually got more jars. And I have 1/2 pint jar. We do want to make sure our beans stay below the water line, so we don't have any darkened beans. Okay, let's debubble. That one I know has more than it needs. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to put 1/4 in this little one. Should have did my measurements before I added the salt, but that's okay. Wipe the rim with some vinegar. So I know I said I was going to wait till all the beans were par cooked before we put them in the canner. But this is half of what I want to can. And I've already have 9 navy beans and 7 plus 1/2 pint, so you might as well say 8 jars of kidney beans. That is 17 jars. I might as well go ahead and can these. Then once the pot starts cooling down, we can start cooking the other 2 beans, and we'll process those the same way. It's going to take me a little bit longer because I ended up with more jars than I thought I would. I thought I could get this all in one canner, but I'm going to have to do it 2 times. So I have the 921 All-American canner. I do need to warm it up before I put my jars in. I did add warm water. Your jars, your content, and your canner needs to be as close to the same temperature as possible. Not a necessary step, but to keep hard water deposits on the outside of your jars, just add a little bit of vinegar to the canner. All right, my jars are not hot. They're actually warm, warmer than room temperature, but not hot. And our canner is also just a little bit better than room temperature. So we're going to go ahead and start putting our jars in. I have all different size jars. I have wide mouth, I have regular mouth, and then I got some jars that I got from Azure Standard. So they're skinnier and taller. So I like to put these in a place that's not going to interfere with the second layer. I have 9 pints on the bottom. And then 7 pints and 1/2 pint in the top. Doing a visual inspection to make sure that the top and the bottom is evenly gapped all the way around. We need to let this come up to a boil. Let steam come out of this steam valve for 10 minutes. A hard freight train steam for 10 minutes. Then we'll put our weight on it. For my altitude, it's 10 pounds of pressure. Then we have to wait till the gauge reaches 10 pounds. It'll start jiggling, jiggly, jiggly, making all kinds of noise. That is when our timers start. For beans, 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts. So this has to process for 75 minutes. We'll turn the stove off, let it naturally release. We cannot manual release the canner. It will cause a pressure difference from the interior and exterior, and it could break your jars. We do not want broken jars. That's a waste of food. That's a waste of jars. We will follow the rules to the T. 75 minutes for pints. I'll bring you right back when we're ready to take these out. Then we'll go ahead and get started on our second batch of beans. We ran out of time. First batch of beans are done in the canner. I'm waiting for the pressure to natural release so we could get the lid open and get those beans out. I wanted to do the second batch. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen tonight. We're definitely going to be doing those tomorrow morning. Plus we have to can our chicken stock, which is now in the refrigerator. But I do have the black beans in this pot. I'm just going to let those do an overnight soak, and then tomorrow we'll cook them for the 30 minutes so we can get them into the jars. And on the stove I have the pinto beans. I took the beans out of the canner. They're going to sit right there until tomorrow, where we can remove the rings, wash them, Get those on the pantry shelf. Then we're going to go ahead and start the other 2 beans. That's the black beans and the pinto beans. And we have to can the chicken stock. So before you know it, it'll be tomorrow. Y'all have a good night, and I will see you in the morning. Good Monday morning, family. We did not get it all done yesterday, but that's okay. We have today to get it done. I still need to wash those jars, get those put away. As for the beans, I've got the black beans in the green Dutch oven. I let them soak in water overnight and brought those to a boil. Cook them for 2 minutes, turn the stove off, let it sit in that hot water for an hour. Same thing with the pinto beans. We rinse those, replace the water, we have them back on the stove. We're going to bring it to a boil and let it boil for 30 minutes. Now while I was sitting for that 1 hour, we went and got our milk and our eggs. So I'll put my eggs in the refrigerator. I have the eggs in the Instant Pot for the husband for his hard-boiled eggs for the week. And this one, ooh, I got a lot of cream on this milk. Last time I didn't get so much, but that's okay. When I get my milk in these half-gallon jars, I have to make sure I take them back to her every week. So if I have any milk left over, I'll pour it into my quart-sized jars. And I have 3 quarts of milk in there from last week. I need to make mozzarella today. Will we get to it? Leave a comment below if you think we could get to it. And I need to get the cream off of this milk and get that into the freezer. And I woke up this morning and the husband did dishes for me. Thank you very much, husband. Every little bit helps. The beans have come up to a boil. I've got the timer set for 30 minutes. Then we'll go ahead and start warming up our water in the canner and get these into jars and start the process. And like I had said yesterday, they need to process for 75 minutes. Then we need to skim the fat or the solid off of the top of our chicken broth so we can get those in jars. 30 minutes is up. We're going to go ahead and start with the pinto beans. Go ahead and move the canner to the stovetop. Get that start warming up. It has the same water that we used yesterday. I just added just a little bit more to get it to my water level for my canner. We're going to go ahead and turn the black beans off, and we'll do those next. All right, let's go ahead and start filling up our jars as soon as I can find my funnel. Interesting. We have the funnel. So we're going to use the slotted spoon first. It is going to be so nice to have canned beans on my shelf. I added salt to the beans when I did the 2-minute cook, 1 hour rest, but I did not add beans to the 30-minute cook. So we'll be adding salt to each jar. I love the smell of pinto beans. What is your favorite bean? I am curious. And we'll add water to the ones that don't have enough liquid. The bubble. Let's check the head space. And we're going to add a ½ teaspoon of salt, paper towel, white distilled vinegar. Let's wipe the rims. And everybody knows this is my favorite lid. 4-jar lids are perfect. Putting rings on, fingertip tight. Our water is warm. Now we're going to go ahead and place our jars in the canner. So we got 9 pints of pinto beans. And I can get 8 pints on the bottom. Place the divider, and we'll start a second row. And now we can work on the black beans. I have 5 wide mouth jars, and we'll put the rest in regular mouths. No problem at all. And repeat the process. And now into the canner. Let's play some musical jars. Okay, 9 jars in the lid on the top. There we go. Put the wing nuts on. Oh, you know what I forgot to do, family? And I do this more often than not. The vinegar. I always remember it, but I don't remember it before I put the lid on. Visual check the lid. Make sure we are evenly spaced from the base to the lid. And that looks good. Crank it down. We're going to bring this to a boil. Steam is going to come out of this valve. We're going to let it do a freight train steam for 10 minutes. We'll put the weight on it. Once it comes up to pressure, my altitude is 10 pounds of pressure. Once it reaches 10 pounds of pressure, the weight will start jiggling, and that's when our time starts. Beans need to process for 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts. We'll do this for 75 minutes, turn the burner off, let it naturally release. Once it hits 0 and there's no pressure left, we can take the weight off and open the lid in 5 minutes increments. We'll take the weight off, wait 5 minutes, undo the wing nuts, lift the lid up away from us, have it resting on the base or the bottom part for 5 minutes, take the lid off, let it rest for 5 minutes, then we can take our jars out. Let me get the kitchen reset. See you back in a few minutes. Canner has come down to pressure, so we can remove the pressure gauge. Lower the wing nuts. And then we're going to rest the lid on the base, slightly ajar, and we'll leave it sitting like this for about 5 minutes. We'll take the lid off, let it sit for another 5 minutes, and then the jars are ready to come out. Family, we're going to do it again. I am so sorry. It's going to be extended another day. All the beans are out. It is now 4 o'clock. I don't have the energy to do the chicken broth. We will do that first thing in the morning. But the beans are done. Just got to let the second batch cool so I can wash and get them all labeled. And I'll do that in the morning while we're working on the chicken broth. See you in the morning. I am forcing myself to finish this canning project tonight. We're going to start working on the chicken broth. Now this was the chicken broth we cooked yesterday in the countertop roaster with all the bones and the vegetable scrap. We put it in the refrigerator overnight, and you can see that layer of fat right there on the top. Just go ahead and just scoop that out as much as possible. And it congealed. Oh, it's beautiful. That is what we want. Ah, beautiful. And now the big one. Oh goodness, do not. Why can't I not make a mess? It's okay, we got this. All right, that is it. Now since my canner will only hold 7 quarts at a time, we're just going to do the large one first. Take out the 7 quarts we need to fill their canner. Once this gets hot and bubbly, then we'll add the small pot to that. Continue the process until all the broth is in jars and canned. Family, we are going to jar up some broth. Beautiful. Look how rich and golden brown that is. Oh, that's going to be so pretty. We're going to go to a 1-inch headspace, which is that very bottom ring at the top of the jar. Seven jars have been washed and rinsed. It almost took that whole entire pan. Very interesting. So I have a paper towel, white distilled vinegar. Want to wipe the rim. A brand new 4-jar lid right on the top. And a ring, fingertip tight. Just like all the other canning jars. Beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and put these in the hot canner. 7-quart jars in the canner, adding vinegar. Lid going on. Visual inspection on the lid. Make sure it is even all the way around. Cranking those wing nuts down, locking it in place. And just like the other canning projects with the beans, I let it come up to a boil till steam comes out of this vent. Freight train steam for 10 minutes. Then we'll put our weight on it. My altitude again is 10 pounds of pressure. Once it reaches 10 pounds of pressure, that weight will start jiggling. Our timer starts at that time. Broth needs to process for 25 minutes. Once it starts jiggling, then we'll turn the burner off, let it natural release. We'll take the weight off, wait 5 minutes, undo the wing nuts, wait 5 minutes, prop the top on the bottom so we can have some airflow, wait 5 minutes, take the lid off, wait 5 minutes, then we can take our jars out and start the process all over again with the second half of these jars. So if I got 7 quarts from the big pot that was about 2/3 full, not sure what this little pot's going to do for us. Whatever it does, it's free food regardless. Well, we finally finished the canning projects. It took us 2.5 days to get it cooked, canned, washed, and ready for the shelves. Took me longer than I expected because I ended up with more beans than I thought I was going to have. I thought 2 pounds was only going to give me about 4 or 5 pints. It gave me between 8 and 9 pints per bean. But I want to break that cost down for you. Now we did 2 pounds of each of these beans. The pinto beans, I ended up with 9 jars. And I bought 5 pounds from Azure Standard, which was $9.14. Break that down to 2 pounds, $3.65 for 2 pounds. I got 9 jars, so that's 40 cents a jar. Kidney beans we also got from Azure Standard. Was $12.38 for 5 pounds. We used 2 pounds. Was $4.95. We ended up with 7.5 pint jars. That comes up to 66 cents a pint. The navy beans I've had for a very long time. I don't think I bought them from Azure Standard. This is before I found out about Azure. But we're going to go by the price of Azure because I don't remember how much I paid for the navy beans. For 5 pounds, it's $11.18, which comes up to $4.47 for 2 pounds. We ended up with 9 jars. It's 49 cents a jar. Black beans we got from Walmart because we forgot to put that on our last Azure order. 4 pounds at Walmart was $4.98. We used half of that bag. We used 2 pounds. That was $2.49. We ended up with 9 jars. That's 27 cents a jar. So all the beans right here, 2 pounds of each type of beans was $15.56. I ended up with 34 pint-sized jars. That's an average of 45 cents a jar. So basically each one of these jars cost me 45 cents. I am very happy to have cooked dry beans on my pantry shelf. As for the chicken/turkey stock, because I did mix those bones, we ended up with 12 quarts. I'm not going to count that as a price because it was free food. It was just from the bones that we had left over from chicken and the turkey we had for Thanksgiving and Christmas, plus all the vegetable scraps we've been saving, putting in our freezer for the moment that we wanted to make stock. So that is basically free food, in my opinion. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. Get into your kitchen, find something simple to can. Learn how to can your own chicken stock. It's basically free food. Save all your vegetable scraps, save all your bones from chicken, pork, beef, it doesn't matter. And then make a stock from it. It's free food. I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me in the kitchen for the last 2.5 days as we canned some shelf items that we can use in the future. My favorite lid is 4-jar lids. Everybody who has watched my channel knows I love these lids. I had no failure from these lids on this canning session. It did take me a little bit longer to do what I wanted to do, but that's because I have a All-American 921 canner. It's a single layer, 7 quarts, so I had to do my broth into 2 sessions. We did 7, then we had to do 5. The beans, I was hoping to just get about 4 jars of each. That way I could do it all in one canner. But we ended up with between 7 and 9 pints of each one of these 2 pounds of dry beans. So I had to do it in 2 sessions. It took me longer than I thought it was, but at least we have food on our pantry shelves. If you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you part of the Grammy family. Are you planning on doing the 12-month challenge? What is your challenge? To learn something new in your kitchen, whether it's cooking from scratch, homemade broth to put into your freezer, or learn how to can. Making bread. Artisan bread is the easiest bread. I have so many videos on making yeast artisan bread. Go check those out. But what are you planning on learning the month of February? Let me know. I'm very curious if you're willing to take the 12-month challenge. Right over here, you're going to see 2 videos. Go check those out to the next upload. They'll either inspire you to get into your kitchen or give you a chuckle. Either one is fine with me. Until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family.